Well, hello there, everyone. How are you doing on this super Saturday, February the 18th, year 2023? Hopefully, you're doing outstanding. I'm doing pretty good. I do feel like I got a little frog in my throat. Excuse me there. Woke up with it, so sometimes when I get a little cold, that's my symptom, and that's all I ever get because I haven't been sick in who knows how many years. All because eating healthy and using a product I've talked about before called Sinus Buster, hot pepper nasal spray. Anyway, I'm not talking about that. Anyway, remember, I'm Mazske Finance coming to you from South Florida. I'm not a financial advisor, CPA, or attorney. Why do you want to listen to me? Because I went from making not a lot of money to being a multi-millionaire. Okay? So, what I'm going to talk to you about today, in just a moment, are two things that if everyone could implement these two things into their lifestyle, let's say, the odds are good, the odds are great that they will become wealthy. Wealthy, not overnight, not just in 6 months or a year. It might take some years, but they will become wealthy. Before we talk on that, I'm going to share a quick story with you, okay? Do you like my stories? If not, fast forward ahead. I don't know how long the story will take, but it should only take 2 or 3 minutes. Back in the mid 2000s, 2006, 2007, 2008, somewhere in that time frame, a couple things happened. One, I wrote a novel. I got that novel published. All right. I also agreed at my elementary school, and remember, I wasn't a young kid in those years. My elementary school was having I think it was their 75th anniversary. So they were having like a celebration. It was probably in the summertime. It was warm, springtime, summertime. They're having a celebration for 75 years. Okay. I attended that school, would have been during the 1970s. All right, as a student from kindergarten through 6th grade. We didn't have a middle school back then, so kindergarten through 6th grade. All right, so they wanted to have, as part of our presentation, speakers from every decade that they were open. And I think they opened, don't hold me to this, I think they opened sometime in the 1930s. So it was an older female from the 1930s, I guess. Could have been the 1940s that she attended, I can't remember. But they had somebody from each decade, the 1930s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I was in this for the 1970s. Someone came after me in the 80s and 90s and whatever. Up to, I think, an elementary school student who was there, I think. So anyway, while I was driving up there, because I lived 3.5 hours away from the school, down in Virginia, the school was in Maryland, my youngest son came with me. A couple things happened. The day before we drove up, I had gotten in my very first shipment of books, of that book that I published. They sent me a box of books. Okay, so I just got that box of books in. Secondly, driving up there, I remember talking to my kid. He was pretty young at the time, maybe 10-ish. And I remember telling him something like, I wonder what I'm going to talk about today. Because we were going to drive out that morning and just go there, whatever time it was, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. So we drove up there. We walked through the school. And I was like, wow. I hadn't been back in that school since I left it as a graduating 6th grader. Everything that seemed big back then seems small now. And so anyway, when it was time for the ceremony to start, they had us sitting outside, I guess, on the stage, kind of like off to the side. And the oldest person went first. And I remember listening to her, I was like, wow, she gave a very good talk. And then the next person went, and I was like, wow, she gave a very good talk. And the next person, and I was like, wow. Every person, I was like, they gave a very good talk. And I was sitting there saying, what am I going to talk about? Just to myself, what am I going to talk about? I didn't know. So even as the speaker for the 1960s was wrapping up her talk, she was walking back. I was walking on to like where the microphone was. We passed each other. I said something like good talk, and she said something to me. And I get in front of the microphone, and I still did not know what I wanted to talk about. And I remember I grabbed the podium. I looked at the crowd, and I said, good morning, everyone. And people said, good morning. I said, hopefully you're doing outstanding. It's such a joy to be here. And I reminisced about, I think, my PE teacher just a bit. And then I said something to the effect, one of my fondest memories, because it just popped into my mind, one of my fondest memories as an elementary school student was being a volunteer in the school library. I would go in and put chairs up at the end of the day or take chairs down in the morning, whatever I did, shelf books, whatever I did. As a little kid, second grader, third grader, little kid. And I did that, and I said to the school librarian, I said, I think her name. And I'm not going to say it right now, just in case I'm wrong on some fact here. But I said, I think her name is such and such. And then I made a comment about what I'm thinking up here was she seemed old to me back then. When I was a little kid, she was old. Odds are she's not alive right now. But I didn't want to say that. So whatever I said, and someone said, she's here. And I said, she's here? Because it surprised me. And I said, where? Because there's a big crowd of people. And people start pointing to my left. And as I turn to look in the crowd, I see a smiling face waving at me. And I was like, Mrs. And I was like, it's so good to see you again. And I was like, we need to catch up when I'm off this stage. We need to catch up again. And I said, this is the amazing thing to me. I said, you probably don't remember this, but I remember back as a second grader telling you I wanted to write a book and asking you how to get published. And you got some information for me. You copied it from somewhere. You gave it to me like the next day or the next week. And guess what? I just wrote my first book and just got the first copies in just yesterday. So we met up after my talk. We had a nice conversation. I actually did a book signing sometime after that, a couple months later, at a bookstore in Maryland. And she came to the book signing. So that was kind of cool. That's the last time I've seen her. I need to check my father. He would know, see if she's still alive, because I'm not sure. It's been, pushing 20 years, 15 years, I don't know. So anyway, you didn't need to hear that story, did you? That's just part of my memories. So the two things that can make you wealthy, I'll tell you as I take a sip of this decaf coffee. The two things to get wealthy, I'll make this short. First, play a good defense, as Michael Zuber says. Tighten up the purse strings, be frugal. If you don't know how to be frugal, learn. Learn how to cut expenses. The biggest expense to cut is your primary residence. I'm selling my primary residence and I'm moving to a foreign country to cut expenses. If I'm selling a castle, this has been called a castle by some people. It's not a castle. I have a swimming pool. I have a dock down there with a tiki hut. I got a big house with 16-foot ceilings. I have a nice house. And I can afford to stay here if I wanted to, but I want to cut expenses. I'm selling this house to move to a foreign country. So what's your excuse? Why won't you sell your house? All right. Or what about your car? I drive a 2009. I'm selling that car and my wife's car to move out of country. We don't know, when we move there, we don't know exactly where we're going to live at. We don't know exactly what we're going to drive. We just know we're going to save money. All right. So what's the second thing you can do to become wealthy? Real easy. Buy real estate. All right. You will hear a lot of financial advisors talk to you about stock plans and how to buy this and allocate between stocks and bonds and this and that. And you have 401ks in your workplace and you got mutual funds and you got ETFs and you got crypto. There's a little lizard on my window. And you got other stuff. But if you want to become wealthy, the one thing, and I'm speaking for someone, I used to work part-time as a contractor for the Motley Fool. I invested in stocks from 1990 up till present day. I learned how to choose stocks for individual stock investing. And I'm saying this after investing for all those years. The best way to create wealth is to buy real estate. Why? Because real estate, you can buy it with literally little to no money down. The bank, the lender will lend you, say, 80% of the purchase price. And then from then on, your tenants will pay you rent. And out of that rent, you pay your mortgage, tax, and insurance, and you hold money out for vacancies, repairs, and capital expenditures. Which means, in theory, anything money you spend on the house in the future should be paid out of the rent. Now, with that being said, you might have to make a repair in 6 months and you don't have enough money saved up, but future money will reimburse you. Okay? That's in theory, in the game plan. But by buying real estate traditionally does appreciate as the years go on. If you buy it at a good buy, you get it below market value. You might have equity right from the get-go. And then as it goes up, you get more equity. So, and once you buy one, you can buy your second and your third and your fourth because you learn how to do it. All right, and once you learn how to do it, because then if you weren't saving money, you get more serious about saving money. And then you get your fifth and your sixth. And then you'll learn out some tricks of the trade. You might learn how to use a HELOC. You might learn how to get seller financing. You might learn how to use a non-QM lender. You might make contacts who find you that deal for $25,000. Or you might make a contact like with me who calls me up one day and they got a house that's available for $18,000 that's been partially renovated and they estimate $4,000 to $5,000 to finish it up. I bought that house. I spent $5,000 to renovate it. That house is still being rented by that first tenant that I put in there a couple years ago. They're still in there paying me $850 a month in rent. I just talked to my PM yesterday about it and confirmed it's $850 a month in rent. It's not my best performing house, dollar-wise, but for cash and cash return, and I don't have a mortgage on it. I paid cash for it. I still have it's not my best house cash on cash, but it will always have a special spot in my heart because it's one I bought for $18,000. And I put $5,000 into it. And it's a cute house. It's a nice house. So if you learn how to control expenses, cut expenses, if you have your biggest expense being your housing and your second biggest being your car, and you can learn how to decrease those expenses, and you invest the money, the difference in the money, you invest it in buying real estate, you will become wealthy. All right? Can you do it? Can you do it? And I'll throw this out at the end. If you're out there listening to me and you're stuck right now on 4 houses, or you're stuck on whatever number you're stuck on, why are you stuck? I'm kind of stuck where I'm at. Why am I stuck? Because of this house. I'm selling this house. So if you're stuck, what are you going to do to get unstuck so you can keep growing? All right? Think about that one. Only you can answer that question, not me. All I can do is share stories about what I'm doing. Okay? That's all I can do. And perhaps you learn from me. Perhaps you don't. I don't know. It's up to you. All right? So anyway, I got a lot of stuff to do. A lot of stuff to do. This house may be going on the market sooner than I thought. I got a surprise yesterday. So as the week progresses, I'll fill you in on how it's progressing, but it's a snowball. Things are starting to speed up just a bit. All right. So y'all have a great day. Take care. Stay safe in all you do. Enjoy coffee. Enjoy green tea. Both coffee and green tea are good for you. Just don't overdo it on the coffee. And if you have problems with acid in your stomach, be careful with coffee. Green tea is healthy. So is kiwi. Here's 2 new products I haven't mentioned yet, I don't think. Kimchi and sauerkraut. Kimchi and sauerkraut and yogurt and sourdough bread. That's 4 products. Those things all put good bacteria inside you. We have roughly 39 trillion bacteria in our bodies. We want to keep them healthy. When you drink something, when you eat something, you've heard a mama say she's eating for 2 when she's pregnant. All of us are eating for roughly 39 trillion little buggers that are inside our body. They eat what we eat. Don't feed them in blunt terms. Crap. Don't do it. If you want to be healthy, feed your little guys in there good stuff. Feed them good stuff. I threw out some of those names. Kiwi, green tea, kimchi, sauerkraut, probiotics and prebiotics. Yogurt, sourdough bread. Look it up, sourdough bread. It has some good stuff in it. Other carbs and other bread, no. Fruits and vegetables. Dr. Lee's book is in the description, Eat to Beat Disease. Dr. Lee, L-I, Lee. read his book. It may save your life. So that being said, Maskey's signing out.